This is Inside the FLX from FingerLakes1.com, our live Tuesday edition. I'm Ted Baker. It's our monthly visit with Chris Lajewski, Montezuma Audubon Center, Route 89 in Savannah. Welcome back.
Great to be with you, Ted.
So last time we started with this, and we'll do it again, that's the avian flu. So far, mostly limited to poultry flocks, but it can be spread through the songbird population, and there's just a few things we should all know.
That's right. Unfortunately, the avian flu is still with us here in the Finger Lakes region. While almost all of the waterfowl have migrated through the Montezuma Wetlands Complex and the whole Finger Lakes region, and we're not seeing the die-off in geese and duck species and some swans even, like we did back in March and April, we are still seeing some birds succumbing to this highly pathogenic avian influenza. Now it seems to be targeting the birds of prey. We've had, in the last month, a peregrine falcon succumb to it over in Monroe County, and a couple of bald eagles, one in Wayne County and another in Yates County. And this is all within the last month or so. All this information is on the USDA website, U.S. Department of Agriculture. And so because it is still with us, we are recommending that people take down their bird feeders just to be on the safe side. We know that some songbirds, especially blue jays, common ravens, grackles, can transmit and can spread this avian influenza to larger birds, like the birds of prey. So better to be safe than sorry. But if folks keep their feeders up, we do recommend that they clean them once a week with a soapy solution or maybe a 10% bleach solution to reduce the chance that the disease gets spread.
When the raptors get it, do they spread it to each other, or is it from the prey birds that they eat?
Well, it's probably both, because this time of year there are birds of prey with nests and with chicks in the nest, and so if one of the adults gets it, it very could spread it to the other adult in the nest and potentially chicks, unfortunately, but they would also get it from the prey that they're feeding upon. So any waterfowl that we still have in the region, we do have mallard ducks and wood ducks that breed here in the Finger Lakes region. They could transmit the disease to the larger birds of prey.
And just in general, we mentioned this last time, there are a lot of food sources. We all love to see the birds come to our feeders, but from a practical standpoint, they really don't need that food at this time of year, correct, like they do in the winter.
That's right. And so the black ghost sunflower seed, the thistle seed that people like to put out during the winter months really isn't necessary this time of year. There's ample food out there. The insects are flying around once again. Some of the wildflowers are starting to bloom, and they're starting to go to seed even as well. So ample food for birds, no reason really to feed them at this point.
And when I put out a suet block, the local starling population wipes it out in about an hour and a half.
They do come to it. The red-bellied woodpecker will also, which is a native bird, will also come to suet feeders and enjoy a meal.
Which is interesting because the red-bellied woodpecker is most notable for his red head.
It's very challenging to find that red on the belly. And especially the way they sit on a tree, their belly is right up against the trunk of the tree. Very difficult to see it, but in flight, it is noticeable.
You mentioned the migrating waterfowl, and we've talked about this topic in the past, but Canada geese, an increasing population, is not migrating and is staying. How do they decide to do that? Is it food availability, or what causes that migratory population to shrink and the resident population to grow?
You can think of the Canada geese as two different species. There's a resident population and the migrant population. Now, the migrants have been coming through the Montezuma Wetlands Complex, the entire Finger Lakes region now for eons. Back in the early 1900s, biologists raised, essentially domesticated Canada geese and put them out into the wild here along this Atlantic flyway, which New York State is prominently placed right in the middle of. And that population doesn't have the instincts to migrate. And so they are here year-round with us. Those are the birds that we're seeing now in ponds, on lakes and rivers and streams. All right. The migrants are way up into Quebec and Ontario, Canada. Some go up into the Arctic tundra, in fact, to breed. So think of them as two different species, even though they look almost identical. There is a difference in size. The resident Canada goose is a larger species than the migrant. And at this point, if you're seeing some Canada geese, it's almost 100% likely that it is the resident population.
Coming up on June 13th, Wayne Hills Country Club, the annual benefit. It's a golf tournament, but it's a lot more than that. It's both time to register and it's time for people who want to support the event to become sponsors.
That's right. Looking forward to our largest fundraising event of the year on Monday, June 13th. So happy to be back at Wayne Hills Country Club and have our title sponsor back with us once again. The Seneca Meadows landfill is once again supporting our efforts, and all the proceeds that are generated through this annual benefit support environmental education programs and bird conservation projects at Montezuma Audubon Center. We've got something for everyone with this event. We're going to be teeing off at Wayne Hills Country Club at 11:30 on June 13th. Have a wonderful 18 holes of golf. We'll have lunch for everyone before teeing off as well. And then after golf, we'll have some beverages. We'll have a dinner, raffles, and we also have this virtual silent auction going on, which is going to kick off on June 1st, actually. So 2 weeks of bidding on wonderful prizes, and all the proceeds from that, of course, support our work as well. Now, if people don't want to golf or don't have the time to take off for the whole day, they can just register for the dinner-only option and join us at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on June 13th for a wonderful meal at Wayne Hills Country Club and, again, support our work.
How's the birding at Wayne Hills?
Tremendous, because that course is very mature, large trees. There's great. Those are the only birdies I'm seeing on my scorecard, Ted. I'm not a very good golfer, but I do enjoy the birds at Wayne Hills. So ample opportunities for people to golf and enjoy meals with us and support our work. Folks can go to montezuma.audubon.org and they'll see the link to register and also to sponsor the annual benefit.
So who's migrating these days? I got lucky a couple of years ago during the warbler migration. They just all came right through my backyard. I picked up 13 or 14 just one day sitting there. I haven't seen as many, but I'm seeing some. But is the warbler migration mostly through at this point?
It's still very much going on. Warblers, vireos, rose-breasted grosbeaks continue to migrate through, and many of them are going to stay here in our communities and breed. The swallows continue to come in, the sparrows as well. So we're still very much in the middle of bird migration. It's a wonderful time to be out exploring, taking hikes, going for paddles, anywhere in the Finger Lakes region.
And that's the whole thing about birding for me is you never know what you're going to see on a given day. It might be a life bird. It might be, like I said, I saw a rose-breasted grosbeak at my feeder the other day that I haven't seen one of those maybe in a couple of years on our property.
Yeah, and you mentioned birding, which is how I think of going out and enjoying the birds, because it's not just bird watching, especially with all the leaves coming out on the trees now. We're identifying birds, finding birds based on their song. It's very difficult right now to see birds, especially those cerulean warblers, for example, that are way up high in the treetops. The Baltimore Orioles are way up there, and they might be hiding behind the leaves, but they are very vocal this time of year. They're attracting their mates. They're setting up their territories, preventing other males of the species from infiltrating its territory. So a great time of year to be out, listening to the birds and watching them as well.
You mentioned that cerulean warbler. That's our species spotlight this month. Tell us about that little guy.
Well, cerulean warbler is one of my favorites. It's really hard to pick a favorite. It's like children, it's hard to pick your favorite child, but cerulean warbler is one of my favorites because it's first of all, it's a really small songbird. It's about the size of a black-capped chickadee, 4 or 5 inches long, and it has about all the colors of a blue jay. So it's blue and with some streaks of white and black. You have to look way up high in the canopy to find this bird. It sings a 3-part buzzy ascending song. Bzz, 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 bzz. Bzz, 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 bzz. Way up high in the trees. And We do have them nesting all around the Montezuma Wetlands Complex. Howlands Island and Montezuma Audubon Center and the National Wildlife Refuge Visitor Center are great places to find them. This is a species that is of concern for us at Audubon because while it's not threatened or endangered, those are the next steps if we continue to lose the population and continue to lose their habitat, not only in breeding grounds, but in migratory corridors and on their wintering grounds. So it's a species of concern, but Montezuma Wetlands Complex really is the best place to find cerulean warblers anywhere in New York State.
Now, this year you're doing guided kayaking tours. I was fortunate enough to get a private one with you a few years ago, and I still rave about that, and your ability to identify birds by song, which I don't have yet, and I'm working on. So tell us about one is Howland Island, and another one is along the Clyde River, which is where we went a few years ago and saw everything from bald eagles to the tiniest songbirds.
The canal system's opened, and so we've got the boats back in the water at Montezuma Audubon Center. Actually just led a paddle this past weekend for some friends of ours out of Rochester. These are youth from various public schools in the city of Rochester. They came out and they had a tremendous time. I really enjoyed it as well. They had never been in a boat before. Many of these youth, these high school students had never been out of Rochester before. So this was a completely eye-opening experience and just great. And we look forward to welcoming them back to Montezuma Audubon Center again for another paddle later on this summer. And I'll probably be going out there to lead some birding activities with them in Rochester. But on Saturday, June 4th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to be doing our first public paddle around Howlands Island. So great place to find cerulean warblers. We may even get lucky and find prothonotary warbler, which is about the same size as a cerulean, but it's yellow overall with some grayish black wings. You don't have to look high up in the canopy for the prothonotary. You actually look at eye level and down towards the ground to find them. They like to nest in cavities in trees. So that's going to be our first public paddle. And then we do have another public paddle on Saturday, June 18th. And this is going to be a sunset paddle on the Clyde River. So 6 o'clock in the evening, launching from Rivers Crossing Campground and Marina in Savannah. Great partners of ours. We're going to be paddling through some habitat that will have nesting bald eagles, nesting osprey, green herons, great blue herons. The warblers will be singing to us as well. These are just two of the first of a series of public paddles that we're going to be leading all summer long. Folks can go to montezuma.audubon.org, click on our programs and events button, and they'll see the entire list of activities we have going on.
And if you can't do those for any reason, there are so many great places. One of the first things I thought of when I got this job here working in Seneca Falls was, wow, I'm right next to the canal system, and I've got all kinds of options.
There are 8 canoe and kayak boat launch locations across the Montezuma Wetlands Complex. Some of them actually can handle motorboats as well, which is tremendous, just giving people greater access to the river to see these birds, to see their habitat. Yes, people can launch their own boats and go off on their own, or join Montezuma Audubon Center for a guided experience, get more familiar with this wild 50,000-acre Montezuma Wetlands Complex, learn about the birds, the habitats that they need to survive, and what we can all do in our daily lives to protect these birds.
I remember the first time I got my roof rack and my J cradles, I had no idea what to do with them. And there's great videos on YouTube that show you exactly how to put it up there. And there's others on getting in and out of a kayak and sort of putting the paddle behind you like an outrigger to stabilize it. So if you've never done it and you go, I'm going to flip it over, there's a lot of great information out there to show you what to do.
And we've been leading public paddles now for 15 years out of Montezuma Audubon Center. All of these paddles are on flat water. It's almost calm, entirely calm. And we don't go for more than 2 miles. So this is great for beginners, people who may not have much experience, as well as experienced paddlers. So just great opportunities for the family to come out. We provide boats to folks who don't have their own, or of course, people can bring their own and enjoy a nice guided paddle.
And like I said, the first time I went on a van tour with my family, the experienced people love to share what they know. So if you're not experienced, whether it's birding or paddling, there are people that will help you.
That's right. The birding community is incredibly generous and welcoming, and we love to share our experiences with other people, like-minded individuals. Over the last week, we've welcomed visitors from as far away as San Diego, California. We had visitors from Chicago and Boston, as well as right here in the Finger Lakes region, and it's just a joy to listen to their experiences, what birds that they're familiar with, and interesting to get their perspective on birds and what they see here when they visit us, and compare that to where they are from.
If walking on dry land is more your thing, let's go birding together. That's on Saturday, June 11th from 9 to 11 a.m. And it's a walk at the Montezuma Audubon Center, and right there near your building is great habitat.
That's right. Great habitat, cerulean warblers, the Baltimore Orioles have been singing their hearts out. We have swallows and purple martins as well. So this is an event. It's a welcoming event. Anyone who is looking for an inclusive, welcoming experience during Pride Month, we welcome them, and everyone who's affiliated with LGBTQ organizations. So we're going to go for no more than 2 miles, generally on flat terrain. We've got some nice pebbly trails at Montezuma Audubon Center, so just about everyone should be able to walk these trails with us, enjoy the birds in this welcoming environment.
You mentioned purple martins. If you have, we talked about feeders, if you have houses or nesting boxes for martins, swallows, whatever, what sort of maintenance should you do on those?
Well, the maintenance should have been done back in April before they arrive. So purple martins, and we do have 2 housing units for purple martins right at Montezuma Audubon Center. We have a wonderful series of volunteers, a group of volunteers that come out and clean out those boxes at the end of the winter and prior to the purple martins arriving, get them ready. And then once the purple martins have arrived, then it's letting them do their thing, bring nesting material in, which is just some finer grasses and vegetation. They've laid eggs at this point, and over the next couple of months, they'll be raising the chicks, and then by middle of summer, the chicks are ready to leave the nest, and then at that point, you go back to those boxes and clean them out and prepare them for any birds that might want to spend the winter in there. The other thing that we do is that we lower the boxes because those units, which stand about 15 feet up in the air, they can get tossed around in the wind.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't want them to be damaged at all during the winter storms. Yeah, at this point, it's just a matter of letting the birds nest, build their nests, raise the chicks, and then at the end of the breeding season, go ahead and clean them out.
I know one place, if you want to see some, is the right near the Visitor Center at Seneca Lake in Geneva.
That's right. They do have a purple martin complex there, and again, some of our volunteers also monitor those boxes. The other great thing about having purple martins is you can document the success of purple martins in their nesting and how many chicks fledge from a unit. So we have 2 units at Montezuma Audubon Center, and every summer we fledge anywhere from 150 to 175 purple martin chicks, which is tremendous. And all of these birds go down to South America to spend the winter. So they've got about a 3,000-mile journey ahead of them once they leave the box.
Then on Saturday, June 25th, Cornell presents their Raptor experience. It's one thing, most of us have seen raptors through a spotting scope or binoculars at a distance. It's really something to see those wingspans and those claws up close.
This is a new partnership that we have with Cornell. So coming up on June 25th, we have 2 different activities going on. One at 10 o'clock in the morning, another at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So folks register for one or the other. We're going to welcome Cornell in with several birds of prey, hawks, owls, falcons, so they can learn about these birds of prey, what makes them such excellent hunters. And of course, people are going to get an up-close look at these amazing birds, take photographs and selfies with them in this wonderful in-person experience at Montezuma Audubon Center. Again, everything is on the website. Online registration is available also on the website, montezuma.audubon.org.
Remind us about volunteer opportunities this summer, removing invasive species, restoring habitat, and things like that.
Yeah, we're going to have many volunteer opportunities going on all summer long. especially as we get into July and August. We'll be removing water chestnut out of places like the Seneca River and Clyde River. This is a manual activity, so we're out there in canoes and hand pulling water chestnut, which is an invasive plant species that is choking out some areas of our wetlands habitat and waterways. And we've been very successful in removing water chestnut from these areas so that they're not choking them out entirely, but you have to keep up with it. You can't just take a summer off, because then you lose 10 years of work.
Yeah.
So we'll be back out there again. We'll get those on the website in just probably another couple weeks, and we'll be looking for people to register for those as well. And that's a great way to have fun during the summertime, stay cool, because you're in a boat, you're getting a little bit wet, and you're making a difference. You're improving the quality of the habitat at Montezuma.
Remind us again about sign-ups and sponsorship opportunities for the fundraiser at Wayne Hills, June 13th.
That's right. Go to montezuma.audubon.org. Click on our annual benefit link, and that'll take you to opportunities to register for the event. You can register an individual golfer, a whole foursome, or you can just register for the evening activities, the dinner and all the raffles and silent auction that we'll have going on at the event. montezuma.audubon.org.
Chris Lajewski's been our guest from the Montezuma Audubon Center, Route 89 in Savannah, and Inside the FLX. Nate Sharman producing today. And next week we have Keenan Baldridge, candidate for state senate in the 54th District. More sports. Tomorrow night we have boys lacrosse. It'll be Geneva hosting Newark on fingerlakes1.com. We'll see you then.